everybody, Meriden Gaming here, and today we're going to go over my Necros build. This is a general all-purpose Necros build that, for the meantime, will get you through pretty much all the major star chart and some of the in-game content, but may not be suited for some of the farther end of the steel path and whatnot. But this will get you through the majority of most gameplay. Including some of the open world stuff like Orbalis. I like soloing with him on Orbalis. So let's go ahead and take a look. So Necros Prime, or regular Necros if you didn't know, has 4 skills, of course. Soul Punch, which is meh. It's one of those little, it can be useful, but it's really not what we're focusing on. If you jump into the air, though, and aim kind of down at an enemy, you can launch them off a platform. So that's very handy to have. Terrify, this is your oh no, I'm in trouble skill. If you're getting way too many enemies, but you do have the energy, you can pop this and it will make them all run away for a few seconds. Well, actually, on my build, 37 seconds. But I wouldn't use this when you're playing with the team very often, just because the enemies running away is usually not what you're wanting. This is more of a solo play kind of deal. His third skill, which is one of the 2 skills that our build is based around, is called Desecrate. Basically, this allows you to loot enemies for a second chance of their loot table. And then if you're using slash weapons, swords and some of the shotguns and whatnot, you can actually cut the enemies in half and you can loot both halves. Now the downside to this is you only have a certain amount of time before the bodies disappear. So there is a maximum amount of bodies he can double loot at a time before you have, diminishing returns. And finally, Shadows of the Dead. This is what gives us our survivability. When you have, at least at max level, at least 7 enemies downed, you can summon those enemies to be your allies, and then you can, with a specific skill mod, you can have them take damage for you, and of course they also take some of the aggro away from you as well, which is very handy. Alright, so let's go ahead and get to the build. Alright, so this is a general build. There's nothing too difficult to get. There are some of the rare mods that can be kind of hard to get sometimes. But I try to keep stuff fairly basic just so just about anyone can use the build. For our class, or for our aura, we're going to be using rejuvenation. This helps regenerate you and your whatever you call them, your shadows, and it helps keep them up longer. Next, for our Exilus slot, we're going to be using Cunning Drift. This gives us a bigger range, and this is what allows you to loot those bodies at a little bit further range. You can use a couple different things. You don't need really strength, but you could do, if I can find it, because I can never find it. Whatever, I think there's one for duration somewhere, which I cannot find it for some reason. Anyway, yeah, you've got other options. One of the things that you absolutely have to have is this health conversions. This one's the rarest one, I believe, out of everything. So it's a few plat if you want to get one. Basically, health orbs grant Necros 450 armor, and it stacks up to 3 times. So what is that? I can't even think. 1350 extra armor. And then taking damage will consume a stack after that. Now what you're actually going to do is you're going to pair this up with this spoil, which changes your desecration skill to use your health. It takes 10 health instead of using your energy. So these pair very nicely, so you're looting those bodies for extra loot, and you can happen to get more of those health pods. And because of that, since you're using your despoil here, that's going to take your health down, and then you can pick up those health pods to give yourself the armor, which paired with your Shadows of the Dead, you're not going to be targeted quite as often, so you can pretty much have this up all the time. Next, we're going to go on to Shadows, Shield of Shadows. So this is what gives you your defensive ability along with the health conversion to keep you alive. Basically, as long as each shadow is within 50 meters, they take 6% of the damage done to Necros in his stead. So if you have 7, that's a full, what, 30 plus? I can't even think off the top of my head. But anyway, it takes quite a bit of damage away from you, basically. So that's very handy to have. Next we have Equilibrium. I do not have all of my mods maxed out because I have not been playing. I've played for many years, but I've switched from PS4 to PC, so I'm missing some of the, fully maxed out mods. But all you have to do for some of these, actually, I should have enough points to actually max them all out. It just comes down to the credits. But Equilibrium, for each health pickup you get 70% of your energy, which you're really not going to be using your energy all that much except to recast Shield of Shadows, and then you can, punch enemies with the Shadow Punch. But the other big thing is give your energy pickups give you 70% health. So you want to be using your energy a little bit just so you can get those energy pickups to keep your health topped off. Next, we're going to be using Streamline. This helps with your efficiency, of course, to make your skill not cost as much, and your so you can recast your Shadows of the Dead more often, because your Shadows of the Dead, especially if you're getting swarmed, will go down fairly often. So to keep them up, we don't use much energy. Next, we're going to go on to Blind Rage. This gives us ability Strength. This is basically what helps keep your it gives your shadows more durability, and they can do more damage because that's based off strength. And that's why you can actually, instead of Cunning Drift, if you don't need quite the range, the Power Drift is another good option, and it also helps resist knockdown. Next, we have Prime Continuity to up your ability duration. This plays off the Shadows of the Dead. The longer the duration, the less health they lose, because they slowly lose health. So the longer your duration, the less health they lose. We've already talked about Despoil. And then finally, we have Vitality to give us that little bit of extra health to keep us alive longer and to have a larger pool for our Desecrate to work with. Once you get down to a certain amount to where it can't use anymore, it will automatically just disable Desecrate, so you can't use it anymore. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so here we are farming, can't think of what those things are called. Little orbs that you need from the spaceport. Anyway, as you can see, pretty much I just try to keep my shadows up as much as possible. Once you dip down below 5, you need to go ahead and cast it. I noticed in this, the Vega toroids, that's what I was farming. So what I noticed in this area, for some reason, I wasn't getting quite as many health drops and quite as many energy drops. So I was having to augment my energy using my energizing dash, which is, the operator ability. And then, yeah, I wasn't getting the health drops as often, so my health was going down quite often, or I didn't go down completely, but it was getting to the point where, like, I wasn't having that extra armor quite as much. So I might have to alter the build a little bit for areas like this that you don't get those quite as often. With like the Umbral, what is that? Vitality? Do they have an Umbral Vitality? I don't know, something to give myself more armor off the bat. But as you can see, it works pretty well. And I'm using the Ignis Wraith, which is one of the most powerful weapons in the game when you have it modded correctly. I don't have the best build for mine right now, just because I'm missing a few of the mods, and I I don't like buying mods off the market. I prefer to earn them myself. Um, but that being said, if your clan doesn't have the Ignis Wraith, you can ask on either Warframe Market or in the chat, and someone can tend to get them for you. Typically, they'll give them to you for free, because it's only like 10,000 credits, not even premium credits, just normal credits. But you definitely need to pick one up if you don't have one, because basically it's a beam weapon. It hits two times per tick. Has a fairly wide beam and can hit up to 30 meters away, so very handy for mowing down it. Oh, and infinite punch through on bodies. Yeah, you see, I just keep my Shadows of the Dead up and then just, mow through enemies. Necros is one of the best solo farm builds, just because you do get the extra resources. Actually, I would say he's probably the best solo farm, as long as you're looking specifically for resources. If you're going for stuff like survivals and whatnot, he works pretty well there too, which is what we're moving on to now. I believe this is on Sedna. I got to my spot that I like on this map, because there's a lot of enemies that spawn here. Of course, in both videos I did speed up the time. It's 2 times speed, just so the videos goes a little bit faster. But yeah, on the survivals, you want to be trying to use your melee weapon. I don't have the best one. I just love the Magistar, the Sanctum Magistar, so I use it a lot. But for long, like if you're trying to go for more than 20 minutes, you'll want something with slash damage and slash procs. But this one works pretty well all the way up to... I can go 30 minutes with this without a problem. But yeah, if you want to go longer than 30, you definitely need a sword or something similar. Yeah, you just get your multiplier up and just wail away. And Necros, I mean, just keep your Shadows of the Dead up. That's all it takes. Your Desecrate will do the rest. Because as you can see, there are enough enemies, especially you want to go with Infested, just because they come to you, rather than, you have to run around to try to pick up all the stuff. And there's enough that you pretty much rarely ever drop below 90%, as long as you can keep your DPS up enough to kill them fast enough. Yeah. And anyway, that is the build. As you can see, I mean, it works fairly well for farming and then surviving in some of the bigger areas. Like I said, it will not work really well in the super high level stuff, but you can go for quite a while farming in survivals and whatnot. And uh, it's really good for those extra resources that you need. And anyway, yeah, if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have other builds you want to see, just let me know, either characters or weapons, and I will get those out for you. And like I said, I tend to do more of the kind of journeyman builds, not the stuff that, for super beginners that don't have access to the mods, but I don't have all those super rare mods or super expensive mods um, in the builds, just to kind of like even it out to where, this will work for most people, but you don't have to, be spending credits and money to be able to run these builds. Like I said, there's only like one mod on here that you might have to buy just because it's kind of hard to get. And yeah, once again, this is Meriden Gaming, and I will see you in space.